Welcome to another episode of The Father-in-Law. We are hoping to educate while we entertain, break down the law, make it simple, make it fun. And remember, whatever we discuss on this show is not meant to be a substitute for proper legal advice. In the event you have a legal issue, we urge you to go to lawyers closest to you in your neighborhood. Today we have a guest, Lebo, welcome to the show, and I understand that you are an aspiring lawyer, so you're currently a law student.
Yes.
Briefly tell me about yourself. What made you want to be a part of this crazy profession?
First, I want to say thanks for having me on as a guest today. And yeah, so this interest of mine started early high school years. My father is a police officer, and he'd always come home telling me his stories and his experiences at work and, you know, the legality around it. And that's where my interest peaked, right? So I would look at things that he'd show me, like the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, things like that. And I'm like, this is very interesting to me, but I need to gain a better understanding of it and something I might potentially want to go into. So that's how it came about, and that's what brought me where I am now.
And what year of study are you currently in?
Second year.
All right.
Yeah.
Which university?
At the University of Pretoria.
Okay, good. And still have a long way to go.
Yeah, very long way to go.
It all starts with a dream.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, law is fun, law is logic, and lots of hard work. You read every single day. But if I could make it, I'm sure you can. You're probably better at it than I could ever possibly be. But yeah, we do encourage youngsters to go into the field, but you must have the passion, you must have the love for it. Of course, you'll make good money if you work hard, but there is more to law than just money. Yeah, funny enough, when I was in my early teens, I actually wanted to be a policeman. I wanted to be a detective, to be specific. And much later in high school, when I got politically conscientized, then that's when the love for the law began.
Okay.
It was more about fighting injustice. I hate injustice. I really detest injustice. And we started out under a student movement called COSAS. Trust me, I was one of the founder members in my neighborhood. My parents didn't know that I was a klepkoyer. I was a comrade. That's what they called us, or we called ourselves back in the day. And once the bug for the law caught me, I never let go. So I knew very well that when I get to university, I'm going to study law. And fast forward 30 years later, here I am as a lawyer, and I'm hoping to impart some knowledge, provide a bit of encouragement to youngsters, and as my contribution towards society is precisely what this podcast seeks to achieve. So we take topics, interesting topics in the law, and we break them down. So, Lebo, as an aspiring lawyer, and mindful of the fact that you are still at your formative stages in the study of the law, I just want to find out, what is your understanding about the law? Why do you think we need the law in general in society?
So my understanding of the law is basically the backbone and the pillars of a modern functioning society. Certain rules and regulations are in place in order for people to treat each other fairly, properly, and for things to work seamlessly.
Wow. Excellent.
That is my understanding of the law.
That's actually quite spot on.
Yeah.
That's quite spot on. I think you must be proud of yourself. You see, a lawyer should be able to talk himself out of any situation. And I'm glad you did that. But look at it this way. Where you have more than one human beings coexisting, there needs to be structure. Things need to operate in a particular manner. Society must be organized in a particular manner. And for that to happen, you need the law
to
regulate the conduct of human beings in a society. And depending on different types of engagements, you'll have different types of rules that regulate each engagement. And that's how the body of the law develops. So where people get into business transactions. Even back in the day, where they were trading with goats and cows, those were business transactions. So they have to be regulated in the law that deals with entrepreneurs, contracts, where people have to be punished for the wrong that they do to society. A legal system that regulates criminal law developed, where people wrong each other and they have to be compensated by those who wronged them. You have another system of law that deals with how that relationship is structured. So you've got different types of laws that govern different types of relationships and interactions in society. And obviously, back in the days, the law was not necessarily written down, but it was still the law.
It was still there in
You
another
sit
form.
under a tree with elders who would listen to this one, listen to that one, and make a decision. So the law didn't come with civilization. The law has been there since mankind has been around.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, obviously, the more society progresses, the more the laws would progress. Because you are our guest today, pick and choose any topic of the law that you want us to unpack in a very simplified manner, in a manner that will make sense to you as a student, but most importantly, to society out there. Because part of the reason why this podcast came to existence is to give back to society by teaching, simplifying very basic topics, because lawyers are expensive and not everybody can afford to go to a lawyer to protect or vindicate their rights. So this is our contribution as the Father-in-Law podcast, to try and do what we are doing with you and to you and to society out there. So pick a topic.
Okay, so a topic that I'm interested in discussing with you is the topic of arrest and bail, and the formalities and rules that are around that subject.
Okay.
So I know for me personally, a lot of people have asked me, how does bail work and what is the process around bail and the price and things like that. So I'll direct that question to you.
Okay. Look, we'll break it down, but let's take a few steps back.
Okay.
You the son of a policeman. So bail gets triggered when someone is arrested for having committed an offense. And as lawyers, I like saying to clients when they come, everybody will tell you, batting yenze or barik yenze so. So it becomes the lingo where when a client walks in after a small chat and pleasant, will say, "Hey, munabaru yenze." You hardly find a client who says, "Hey man, I want you to defend me because I've raped or I've killed or I've orchestrated a heist." They always say, "Bati njonji."
Yeah.
So your father would see someone commit an offense. By law, he will then have to arrest that particular person, meaning deprive that person of their freedom and liberty. He takes that person and he puts him in a cell at the police station. When you are in a cell at the police station, you are referred to as an arrestee or arrested person or a person who is detained. Right?
Okay.
The policeman has done his part. They saw you commit an offense, or they think they saw you commit an offense, or they were told that you committed an offense. He comes, he places you under arrest. When he places you under arrest, before he puts the handcuffs on you behind your back, he then has to read you your rights.
Yes.
Why? Because the Constitution says so.
That they are entitled to
They are not entitled, they are obliged.
Obliged, okay.
To read your rights, to tell you what are you arrested for. To tell you that you have a right to an attorney. You can appoint your own attorney. If you cannot afford an attorney, one will be provided for you by the state. You have a right to remain silent. You don't have to say anything. You don't have to shoot your mouth off. All they have to do is to read your rights when they place you under arrest. And immediately you must be transported to a police station where they're going to take your shoelaces, your necklace and everything, the bandana, the ring, the watch. They keep those things safe, and then you get locked up in a cell. Now, for you to get out of that, you have to be admitted to bail.
Okay, so that's where the bail comes in.
That's where the bail comes in.
Okay.
Now, depending on the offense for which you were arrested, you can be released on bail by a senior policeman at the police station the very same day or the following day. Or if you are charged with a more serious offense, you would have to be released on bail by a court.
Okay.
So you'd have to be taken in front of a magistrate who would then give you bail if you qualify to be released on bail. I just want to paint that picture for you.
Okay.
So let's suppose you are arrested for a less serious offense. They found you pissing in the street, in public. It's an offense. So you'll be arrested, you'll be taken into a cell at the police station. A lawyer will then come for you and speak to the senior policeman, speak to the prosecutors, who would then determine whether or not you should be released on bail. Bail can either be for money, you pay X amount of money, or you can be released on what is called a warning.
Okay.
Where you are basically released for free, but you are warned to appear at court on such and such a day. Or you could be released on bail payable against a fixed amount of money. So if they say your bail is 500 rands, it means if you pay 500 rands, you are released from the court cells.
Okay.
On condition that you will appear in court on the day that they will give you.
Okay.
If you do not appear on that day, your bail, that 500 rands bail, money will be forfeited to the state, and your bail, meaning the freedom that you got given when you were released from the court cells, gets withdrawn.
So
now
it will be waived from there.
Yes, then you go and stay inside. Now that is for a less serious offense. Let's suppose, God forbid, you are accused of rape, which is a serious offense. One, you are entitled to be released on bail, but it is not automatic.
Okay.
And you will not be released on bail facing rape charges or murder or any of the serious offenses from a police station. They will have to keep you, and you will have to be taken to court within 48 hours of your arrest. But in the calculation of the 48 hours, let's say you get arrested on a Friday. You don't calculate weekends and public holidays. So it will be normal court days. So if you get arrested on a Friday for a serious offense, you will stay in the police cells until Monday morning, being the date by which you must be presented before the court for the court to determine whether or not you must be admitted to bail. Okay, so this is now a serious offense.
Yeah.
So what then happens is that you get read your rights when you're arrested. They keep you in the cells Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night, Monday morning, then you go to court. When you appear in court, the prosecutor, having consulted with the police that is investigating the case, would then agree whether you should be released on bail, if so, how much. But because the law says people who are facing serious charges, we call them Schedule 5 or Schedule 6. But for the purpose of this podcast, let's just call it serious charges. You must then apply and prove to the court that you are worthy to be released on bail. Contrast with less serious offenses, your bail is automatic, unless there are reasons why you shouldn't. But you don't have to bring a formal application to be released. You only do that for serious cases. For example, if you're charged with rape or murder, you then have to bring an application before the court, convince the court that it is in the interest of justice that you should be released. Once the court is satisfied, based on your application, that you must be released, the next question then is the amount. How much bail? So bail is not necessarily meant to be punishment. It's simply an amount that makes sure that you will keep coming to court until your case is finalized. So if, for example, bail is fixed at 50,000, from the court, you go downstairs to the court cells until someone pays 50,000. And then once 50,000 has been paid, you are now released, and we say you are released on bail.
Okay.
And the amount usually is not necessarily meant to be a link with what you are accused of. If you are accused of fraud, for example, fraud of $1 million, it does not mean that your bail will be $1 million
More than
or half of that. It's just, it will be an amount that will be arrived at having considered your personal circumstances. But once bail is fixed, you have to pay that amount. If you can't pay it, then you are now taken from the court cells to prison now. And if your parents can raise that amount of money after a week or so, they can then go bail you out, meaning pay the bail money for you at prison, and then you are released.
Okay.
On condition that every day when your case is postponed, you rock up at 8:30, you stay in court until your case is called or until the magistrate says, Morena, you are released, you can go. Your case is postponed to such and such a date. That is basically what bail is and how it works. And remember, in the same way as it gets given to you, it can be taken away from you if you do not observe the conditions that the court give you. For example, if the court says you should not even make contact with that girl that you are said to have beaten up, and then you send a WhatsApp or you send your friends to go talk to that girl to drop the charges, that is called indirect contact.
Okay.
You may not be the one talking, but you're talking through your proxies, your friends. If you do that and it gets proven that you did that, your bail can be withdrawn.
Okay.
Meaning your freedom can be withdrawn. Your bail money can also be forfeited. Because what normally happens is the amount of money that you pay for bail, at the end of the case, even if you are found guilty and you are sent to prison, the person who paid it, who signed for it, is entitled to go and collect it.
So it's like a sort of deposit.
It's a deposit.
Okay.
You pay bail money. And if the case is finalized, that bail money that you paid is refundable to the person who paid it. If you violate your bail conditions and your bail is withdrawn, you will go back to the cells, and two, that amount of money that you paid may be forfeited. So whoever paid it will also lose it. So it's important when you are released on bail to observe and respect the conditions that the court give. If you do not do that, it will be withdrawn and then you stay inside. And sometimes these cases can run for years.
Yeah.
You will now be an awaiting trial prisoner inside because the court gave an opportunity to release on bail, and what did you do? You squandered
it. You messed it up.
Yeah.
Okay.
It can also happen that while out on bail, you are arrested for another offense again.
Okay.
When you go apply for bail, having committed or alleged to have committed an offense while on bail, your bail application now becomes serious, even if it's a small offense. You see, the classification of your bail application jumps to a Schedule 5, even if you have committed a Schedule 1 offense like your shoplifting, your small case.
So even if you've committed 2 Schedule 1 offenses?
Yes. The fact that the second bail application you are bringing for an offense that you are alleged to have committed while out on bail.
On bail.
Yes, so it's going to be a lot more difficult now for you to get bail the second time around. You can still get the second bail, but it's not going to be easy.
Okay.
Yes. The other important aspect about bail is sometimes if you don't have the money, the physical money, you can still put up security. For example, if bail is 500,000 and you don't have 500,000, but you have a house or you have a car that you've paid up, you can pledge your car or your house, which will only be given back to you when the case is finalized. Again, if you don't observe the conditions, you run the risk of going back inside and also losing that car or that house.
So you are able to put assets in.
You are able to put assets in. It's not only money. Because remember, the idea behind bail is to simply secure your future attendance at your court dates.
Yeah.
There must be something hanging on your head that says, hey, if I don't go to court,
then
I'm going to lose my car, I'm going to lose my money, but I'm also going to lose my temporary freedom.
Yeah.
Because then you have to go inside. That's generally how bail works.
So another question I wanted to ask you about bail is the conversation of a person being flight risk.
Okay.
And yeah, so I understand that that is something they have to decide
Yes.
when they approve or disapprove the bail. So how does that work and what are the factors there?
It's actually a good question, because the example I gave you was in the event bail is granted. The flip side of the coin is that sometimes bail may not be granted. And what are the reasons sometimes that can cause bail not to be granted? One of the most common reasons is if, for example, you are considered a flight risk. A flight risk is someone who, if released, they're going to fly away from justice. That is going to escape the country.
Oh, okay.
So, firstly, they will have to determine whether or not you have the means to even escape the country. Secondly, do you have family that lives outside of the Republic of South Africa? Thirdly, do you even have a passport? Do you have anything that ties you to South Africa? If, for example, you are a youngster, you don't have a wife, you don't have children, you've got nothing, but you are a trust fund child, you loaded, you've got an uncle in the States or an uncle in Europe, and you do frequent, those are the things that can be used to show that you are a flight risk.
Oh, okay.
But to obviate that, the court may put up a condition that says your bail is granted on condition that you surrender your passport.
Oh,
so
okay.
that takes care of your possibility of being a flight risk.
Okay.
Or the court may say, to ensure that you are monitored, you are released on bail for a certain amount of money, plus on condition that you report to your nearest police station in the morning and in the evening, or every second day or every third day. So the denial of bail comes as a very, very last resort.
Oh, okay.
So factors that can be considered to make you prone to their flight risk can be countered by the conditions,
okay.
like reporting or surrendering your passport. But remember, while you're on bail, it does not mean that you are found guilty. The law still presumes you innocent. So if there's a need for you to travel, the conditions will say you may not travel without contacting the investigating officer. So if you need to go to Europe on a school tour, you go to the investigating officer, which is a police detective that is responsible for your case. Say, here is proof from school that you've got a tour, play rugby, blah, blah, blah. The policeman then will give you your passport to enable you to travel. Then when you come back,
you report to them again.
You report to them and you hand it back again. Or one of the conditions may be, we are releasing you on bail, but you are not allowed to leave Gauteng as a province without notifying the police, the investigating officer. So if you have to attend a family funeral, or you have to go visit your girlfriend who lives in Mpumalanga, all you have to do is to say, Mr. Policeman, the investigating officer, I need to travel to go see my girlfriend between Friday and Saturday. May I please go? He says yes. You can even send a WhatsApp here so that you have proof that you didn't just up and go. You left with
permission.
Yeah, or you can go, you can write a note for you, or you can send him an email, he can reply by email. So there are still options, because the idea of bail is to give you your freedom as far as possible, provided that you don't do what the court said you shouldn't do, and provided that when the court say come back on the 21st,
you come back
on the 21st. Yes.
So on that, with the discussion about certain conditions you have when you are granted bail, what leads to someone being denied bail? What extreme circumstance would need to take place, or crime, or
If, for example, you did not cooperate with the police when they were looking for you, and maybe you started threatening witnesses, those are some of the factors that may lead to your bail not being granted. Or if, for example, there is a fear that you may make the evidence disappear, Those are some of the reasons. So there's not a list of things, the do's and don'ts. Every case is viewed on its own merits. Your particular circumstances may either cause you to be granted bail or denied bail. If, for example, on previous occasions when you are granted bail, you violated your conditions, that may be used against you to say, this one.
Oh, this time, then no.
You know, when you give him bail, he's not going to come back. He's done it so many times, you know. It varies from person to person. That's why you will see that when there's 4 people arrested for the same offense, others may be granted bail, others may be denied bail. It has to do with the history of each individual.
Person.
You see, so it is not a given that if we are all co-accused and we are charged at the same time, we'll all get bail, we'll even all get bail of the same amount. It may be the same amount, it may not, because it is individualized.
Okay.
Yes. You meant to ask about who determines the bail amount?
Yes, who determines the bail amount?
It is the court, it is the magistrate, the presiding officer, but what normally happens in real terms, the prosecutor will stand up and say, my lord or your worship, we have agreed on X amount for bail. The court may then confirm that amount, or the court may either put a higher amount or a lower amount. The court is not bound by what your lawyer and the prosecutor agree to.
Okay.
Or there are instances where the prosecutor may say 5, your lawyer may say 2, and the magistrate may say 3.
So I assume there's no guideline.
There's no
Like you
guideline.
said,
There's no guideline.
guideline
It's individualized.
Okay.
There's no point in granting a high amount of money for bail for you as a student. You are not employed. You don't have a source of income. You know, you could be co-accused with someone who is working, and the court may take into account that you don't have income of your own. This
And this
particular
person
one
does.
has income. The court may say your bail must be 2,000. This one must be 5,000. So at the end of the day, bail will always be set by the magistrate, either by agreeing with what the lawyer and the prosecutor have agreed upon, or he may listen to the two of them and then make his own decision. But the decision is always that of the court. Now, as we wrap up, you know, the practice of the law is one that requires you to be on top of your game. And you have to keep reading. You've got to have master the art of knowing when your client is lying to you. You can tell.
Okay.
But you don't have to necessarily judge your client. It doesn't matter what he did. Whatever he says to you is like between a priest and someone who's confessing. So your client tells you even before your bail application that I've done it. Your job is to
At the end of the day is to defend your client.
and your job at that time is to make sure that he's released on bail, as long as you don't lie to the court. I know people say, you are not allowed, to lie
to the court.
to the court, yes. You have to be creative about how you relate your client's story. You know, and that duty even starts with your bail application. Because what you say during a bail application can be used against your client in the trial later on. So it's always very important. And the tip is always to advise your client to honor and respect the bail conditions, because if they do not, they run the risk that that bail will be withdrawn. Secondly, say as less as possible during your bail application, because at that stage, you don't know what the state, the police, the prosecution has against your client. So if you go shooting off your mouth, you may end up saying things that they were not even aware of.
And then there's more that they can investigate as a result.
Exactly. So that's tip number 1. Tip number 2, the client must tell you the truth so that you can package his bail application accordingly. Because remember, as a lawyer, you act on your client's instructions. What your client tells you, we call it instructions. You then convey it to the court. So if he tells you incorrect or false information, you are going to convey incorrect that information to the court.
And then you could be held responsible for that.
If you lie, if you actively lie, yes. But if I didn't know that he's lying to me, how can I be held responsible? In law, you have to tread very, very, very cautiously. Yes. Is there anything else that you wish to know
And
as
then
we wrap up?
with regards to just studying for me and for all the other law students out there, how would you recommend navigating the studies from the beginning right up to the end of it?
Firstly, there's no shortcut, and there isn't a recipe that I can prescribe. You have to determine what works for you. The only thing that I think is a constant is for you not to leave it until too late, because there's a lot of information that you need to process. And sometimes, if you leave it too late, you run the risk that your brain might freeze. So take it in small chunks, keep at it consistently. In any event, it's going to be your life. There isn't a single day that I don't read.
Okay.
There isn't a single day that I don't read. So start now, get into the habit of reading. Even if you read 30 minutes, an hour every day, it becomes a habit. You end up enjoying it, it becomes more fun. Even if it's not law books, read novels, just the art of reading.
That
Because
skill increases,
yes,
yeah.
that's how you are going to improve your speed reading. Don't you normally ask yourself, how do these lawyers carry these big files to court and then they go page 1,700 and what? It's because he's read it. So I know what I want is somewhere in page 89 or 270. I may miss it by a
few pages,
but
but you know
but
the
you know
estimate.
where it is. You use your sticky notes, those sticky tapes.
Yeah.
You read. You can't be a good lawyer unless you are a good reader. It's not going to happen. And you must also be a good communicator. So how do you communicate? You communicate by improving your vocabulary. Where do you get your vocabulary? Get your vocabulary from reading. So there's no shortcut in front of it. If you do it now, get into the habit of it, you'll make a fine lawyer. And law is logic. And lawyers have a good command, or must have a good command for the language. Lawyers show respect in court. Lawyers show respect to their opponents. You fight hard in court. When you step out of here,
You shake hands.
you shake hands, you go have a talk together, or have a bubbly, happy, those things of yours. But good luck, and I hope you found this motivating.
Yes, I did.
And at the end of the day, it is your passion that will drive you, coupled with dedication and hard work. There are no cutting of corners in the practice of law. There should be no cutting of corners in the studying to become a lawyer. Remember that. Cheerio. Thank you for watching, and we look forward to having you again for the next episode of The Father-in-Law. And remember, like, subscribe, tweet, retweet, comment, and share, and encourage your family, your girlfriend, your brother, your sister. Push that like button. Cheerio.